Yes, so I am the founder of Tigim. We're interaction intelligence. So we really help you to access more customers, build your brand performance, and also avoid lawsuits. So I don't want to scare anybody, but you don't want that. Where do I click this? Okay. So obviously at the moment there is something happening in your buyer's journey. 95% of your customers might not convert, and you're looking at reasons why. A lot of the reason for this is maybe that you're not collecting, or you're not, even Google Analytics, it's not collecting all of the data. There's a lot more happening in the buyer's journey that you're not aware of. So if you want to increase your reach, increase your customer market by 20% without any ad spend, then this is really the talk for you and the topic area. Because there are unknown barriers in your buyer's journey that not everybody is aware of. And like I say, Google Analytics is great. It captures information about what the buyers do when they are on your website. But what it doesn't capture the information about what is happening aesthetically on your web pages. When I talk about that, I'm talking about the language that you're using and your product descriptions, your product titles, the layout of your pages, and also the design. So 1 in 4 people really experience disabilities within Ireland. And that's from a range of different types. We can have cognitive disabilities, which is really about the thinking, how people think and how they've learned. Whether people have ADHD, dyslexia, autism, or even just non-English speakers. So when you're creating content, communication for your audience, even if you're an expert in your topic area, in hardware, pharmacy, really think about the ability of the audience. What is their English level? What is their reading level? So there's cognitive disabilities that we don't see. There's physical disabilities like low vision and blindness, or no arm movement. And there's situational, maybe not disabilities, but there's situational things that can stop us from interacting well with a product page. So if you're a parent really stressed, a new parent really stressed, trying to buy medicine online for your new baby, and the language there is really complex, it can be really hard for them to understand what they need to do. So either maybe they won't buy, or they might buy, could return because it's not what they thought it was, or they might buy and use it wrong because they didn't understand fully what they needed to do. So our research shows we provide analytics on all of these things within your buyer's journey. We know from our research that the more effort the user has to put in is going to lower the sales, right? So the more complexity on your pages, lower sales. It also means that we are not providing equal opportunities to everyone in society to be able to buy your products. So if you think back to the pandemic, people weren't allowed out, the stores were closed, everything had to go online. So if you're somebody with a physical disability, or you're somebody that English isn't your first language, but you need medicine for your kids, you have to buy online. So really we have to kind of think about this and provide an equal opportunity for all. And that's really, it's not just great for business, but also it is something that is coming now in June under the EU Accessibility Act. It comes into force on the 28th of June, and it says that all companies, private companies, need to make sure that their products and services are accessible to people with disabilities. That includes the layout of your websites, it includes the language that you're using. The language that you're using on your websites must be understandable for your users. So that includes language, layout, and design. So all of the things we help you look at. In terms of lawsuits, it doesn't mean that all of your websites and everything needs to be accessible by June. In Ireland, you have 2 years. You have 2 years to prove that you are on the journey to creating an accessible online store, products or services. Obviously, in North America and Canada, there's people like to sue maybe a little bit more. We don't know yet about here, but the biggest kind of the sector that gets most of the lawsuits against them is e-commerce. The reason for that is probably the complexity of e-commerce. Some people have 11,000 product pages, and ensuring that everything in that buyer journey is accessible can be really complex. The companies that are probably doing more in this space would be the likes of banks, because they do serve everyone in society, so they're kind of on this much quicker than e-commerce. For example, large retailer Target was fined 6 million because their website is not accessible to blind users. The fines and things in Ireland are only going to, it's only really going to matter for stores that are making more than 2 million per year. If you're not there yet, I'm sure your goal is to be making more than 2 million per year, but this is not just about compliance. This is good customer experience, good business sense. Every EU state has their own, are able to create their own laws around what the fines or anything will be. The Irish government has said there will be fines and jail time. I'm not so sure about that, but you know, they're trying to go that this is serious. So with Magico, what we did was an audit of the AB Commerce, to kind of have a look at what is the responsibility on Magico to make sure that the infrastructure that they're building, helping you guys have your website, what is the responsibility on them from a development point of view, and then also what is the responsibility for you guys as retailers. So we looked at who owns the responsibility across some of these different areas. And when we look at the infrastructure, a lot of you are putting, you know, you're putting your stores on Magico's infrastructure. And what do I mean by that? What is it that your infrastructure needs to be accessible? So I've taken stores that are not from the Magico website just as an example. So when we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about the navigation. That is that somebody maybe with low vision, with blindness, that maybe use a screen reader, maybe they don't use their hands to navigate online. They need to be able to get through your website. They need to be able to navigate through the buyer's journey with their voice and with some screen reader technology. So things that are needed are about your sections and your labels, categories. So it means that as they're tabbing over some of these things, that their screen reader is correctly reading out what the categories and the sections are to make them more aware of where they are on the site and how to improve their buyer's journey. So there's actually 30 million people in Europe that have low vision, blindness, that are using screen readers. So this is actually quite a big group of people that could, if they come to your website and they really want your product, but they're not able to physically get through that website, then you could lose a customer without knowing the reason why. On the other side, then we have content. So who owns in terms of content, and that would be more on your side. When I talk about content, you know, again, you can see that this is from a very popular, it's a very popular brand, very large brand, but still they get things very, very wrong. If somebody walked into your store and said, oh, you know what, I'm looking for a TV, would you say, oh, exactly, I'm going to get you the TX55MZ, you know, probably not. You're going to talk to people like humans. You're going to talk to people, you know, in an in-store environment. You're going to make judgments about who they are. Maybe they're an older man. Maybe there's somebody with English isn't their first language. So when we put complexity in the product titles, when we put complexity in the descriptions, and this is what we analyze with our language analysis system, when we put complexity there, then again, we're creating more barriers. It's all about trying to recreate the in-store experience online. So when we analyze this, even the product titles, we measure this on a scale of 1 to 6. In order to understand this, people need to be able to read a research paper at university in English, right? So people are tired, they're browsing at nighttime. More people are on mobiles, they're looking at nighttime after a long day's work. Maybe they don't have a disability, maybe they're very highly educated, but when they're tired, we're making them think. We make people think, we lose them. That's basically it. And so we found that this is directly linked to lower sales. So more complexity, less sales. So the content piece in terms of your product title, your product descriptions, really is on the side of you guys, as well as some things with images, which we'll talk about. AB Commerce have implemented the AI generator. again, that is great, but I suppose at scale you want to be able to analyze where are the problems, where is the complexity in that. Coming to design. Design, Magico help in some components on the AB Commerce site in terms of the headers and maybe the footers with their design team, but design 10% perhaps is on their side, whereas I would say around 90% would be on your side. So for Magico here, it's really important that color contrast is very high and easy to see. Because what people with color blindness, if there's any rugby fans in the audience, you may have noticed Wales and Ireland were playing a few weeks ago, and Ireland wore a white jersey instead of the green jersey, and Wales were in red. That is for people with color blindness. When Ireland wear green and Wales wear red, people with color blindness can't see the difference between the teams. It's the same online. If people can't see the call to action, that's maybe not a high enough color contrast to the back, then again, they don't know where to check it. And then we come to image descriptions. And this is not just this is for your websites, but also something to think about in your social media. So Zalando are a massive company, we know them. But somebody with low vision or blindness goes to their website using a screen reader. Zalando have paid a lot of money for a model to wear a jacket for these images, and the user actually doesn't know what's going on in there. So what they, then in the ones that there is a description, we see Bershka fitted blazer, and the product title is Bershka, the product name is Bershka. From a user experience point of view, the screen reader calls out Bershka on this page like 20 times before they understand anything else. So although you might be providing descriptions of your images, providing the product title as the description for your image is what we call not meaningful. So for compliance, in order to be meaningful, in order to pass accessibility guidelines, the description of your image must be meaningful. So for example, this is how you could do it. A back shot of a girl in her 20s. The brown blazer is tapered or pointed at the bottom with a small slit hugging the body nicely. We haven't seen that image, but we can all now imagine, based on the description, what the product looks like. I also describe pointed instead of tapered because I'm thinking from a language point of view, does everybody know what tapered is? Maybe not. This also goes back to, I think, what Paul was talking about on Amazon. We are now moving into the world of conversational AI shopping. This alternative text, image description, is also your metadata. So if people might just talk to their phone and say, hey Alexa, I'd really like a brown blazer that has a point at the bottom. They're adding much more detail, and this metadata within your descriptions, within your images, can help to rank that much higher. So it must be meaningful. And the example there is that we must be able to imagine in our mind's eye what it looks like. So that's we kind of say design on both sides, the color contrasts, but also on your images. And so that's kind of what we do at Tigim, is that we are analyzing how are you interacting with your customers, your images, your color contrast. There's color contrast also issues within your images. So if you're putting something on social media, maybe it's a beautiful beach or lake scene, and you put text over it in white. The color contrast there of white to blue can be very hard to see, so people on mobile may not see that. So there's specific color contrast guidelines that you can check for free easily, just to see, is this suitable? If not, that could be another barrier to customers. So with our interaction intelligence, what we do is we look at what you're doing, where are there potential failures in language, design, and look at ways to optimize that. So by doing that in terms of fixing and optimizing language complexity, making it more accessible, we have been able to help companies like Glanbia, Optimum Nutrition, increase their conversions over 100%. This is a friend of mine, and also somebody that I think this is the most important post on the internet. So Kay is a brain injury survivor. Like a lot of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they have brain injury and their abilities change. So just to make it short, she says, it takes me 10 times longer to buy online, exasperating my symptoms. To the brands who have embraced accessibility, you get my business and my loyalty. People with disabilities are more brand loyal than any other customers because it takes them longer to find a service provider that they can use. When they do find you, when they do, start to trust you, they come back. They come back and they come back. All of these things are not just good for people with disabilities. Like I said, AI conversational shopping, it's going to help with your ranking. It's going to help with trust online. All of these things that we've heard about today. The first step is you can get in touch with me, talk with Magico. We'll be working together on this as well. But maybe take a step back from your website as the owner of your website and think about, are there any things here in terms of the language, the design, the layout, or the imagery that maybe we'd be able to do a little bit better so we can kind of have, so we can reach a wider audience and build more trust. So, thank you.